Hello, and welcome to Creepycore and Folklore, the show about creatures, encounters, old tales, and myths. I'm your host, Iona Wayland, a dark fantasy author, mental health professional, and overall curious person. I want to join other spooky souls and hear about these unusual stories. Hello, spooky soul, and welcome to lucky episode 13. Or should I say unlucky? Well, at least that's what we're gonna get into today. I'm gonna get into all the different backgrounds behind this very much avoided number and why. There's lots of lore behind the number 13 that date back to ancient times. But for me personally, my maternal grandfather was born on Friday the 13th, and one of my good friends got married on Friday the 13th on purpose. She was like, this is definitely the date for me. I feel it in my heart that I need to get married on Friday the 13th. But there's actually a real phobia for it, one that I'm going to attempt and fail to pronounce. It's called paraskerodecatria. That's me being professional. But that's just describing how people will avoid the number 13 and how it can give very real feelings of anxiety and dread. So people will avoid travel, marriages, and other important dates like for work and more that can result in like $800 million of loss annually, which I found very interesting. I didn't realize that it was such a phenomenon that it was causing actual losses, which just tells me that I really need to make sure I travel on Friday the 13th or the 13th of each month if I really want to go somewhere, because the 13 doesn't really bother me. If anything, I feel like 13's lucky, at least in my life, and good things seem to happen then. And so if everyone else is avoiding it and travel agencies are losing money or airports and stuff, then I might as well go on those. Or if everyone's going to be off the road, might as well pick that as my traveling day. So where did this infamy start? So the world's oldest legal document, the Code of Hammurabi, omitted line 13. So in actuality, it was a clerical error. The original document didn't number its lines, but when they translated it for more consumption of it, they did the numbered line thing where like every single line had a number associated with it, but they accidentally omitted the 13th line. On the flip side, 12 is often considered a quote perfect number. It's used in measurement a lot. 1 foot is 12 inches. This is me, an American, saying these things. If you can't tell, we use feet here. It's silly. 1 foot is 12 inches. 1 day is made up of 2 12-hour increments. 1 year is 12 months. And so 13 is said to upset that, quote, perfection and balance. 13 is also tied to the Last Supper, when Jesus was joined for his final feast, and the 13th person to attend was Judas. And Judas is later to be reported to be the one that had betrayed Jesus, thus leading to his crucifixion. Adam and Eve's history, apparently Eve was said to have, quote, tricked Adam, partaking in the first sin on Friday the 13th. Cain killed Abel. This is a very dysfunctional family because Cain and Abel are Adam and Eve's children. Cain killed Abel apparently as the quote first homicide or the first killing, where apparently on Friday the 13th as well. Oh, and I forgot to say the Jesus's crucifixion is also said to have happened on Friday the 13th. I don't know if that's actually said within religious tomes, or is just like within like rumor or mistranslation or attributing bad things to Friday the 13th, and they kind of just like clumped some of the worst parts of different religions and put Friday the 13th with that and kind of made like a correlation between those two things. What I think is interesting is that in ancient Norse lore, 13 is associated with evil and turmoil, and 13 is associated with evil and turmoil being brought to the world. So it's similarly, there was a big dinner party in Valhalla, and Loki was the 13th guest that upset the balance of the 12 gods already there. And so 13 in both of these different religions or belief systems is seen as this omen of death. So fear of the number 13 is more often seen in Western cultures. However, some cultures, like in Egypt, consider 13 to be lucky. The Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute in Asheville, North Carolina, found that over 80% of buildings in the United States do not have a 13th floor. They do have a 13th floor, but it's labeled as a 14 on the elevator. I remember being a little kid in different places and being like, whoa, excuse me, adults, I would like to let you know that I myself, as whatever age, let's say like 5-year-old, I myself as a 5-year-old can count to the high number of 20, and there's a mistake on this elevator because they skipped 13. So, I think I'm pretty great at at noticing the little things. And I remember, I forget who it was. It was some adult in my life. I don't know. Was like, oh, they skipped it on purpose. And I was like, what? Why? And they were like, because some people think it's unlucky. It's a superstition. And I was like, why? And then then it went into like a whole thing. And now that I said that, now the song Superstition by Stevie Wonder is totally going to be stuck in my head the rest of the day. Oh, I won't sing it. I won't subject you to that. That would be mean of me. I'm fighting myself. Also, hospitals, hotels, and airports will avoid using the number 13 for rooms and gates as well. So that people are so avoidant of it or superstitious surrounding it that they don't want to tempt someone not getting help or not going throughout their normal day, that they won't include that number to, I was going to say avoid the avoidance, but you know what I'm saying. 13 isn't the only number with a bad rep. So the number 3 is said to be potentially bad luck, which I was surprised about this. But there's that saying, and actually there are members of my family who will say something like that, where they'll say like death comes in threes or bad things come in threes, where it's like feast or famine when it comes to like not good stuff or really good stuff. Like it's not just one bad thing, like a couple bad things happen, or it's not just one person passes away, a couple people pass away at the same time. That's the way it feels anyway. Also, third time's a charm. I always thought that was like a hopeful statement, but apparently someone can interpret it as like you must go through 2 failures before you can even think of like succeeding, which I think is a little pessimistic, but On the flip side, the number 3 is also thought to be lucky because of its association with a family unit where there will be like 2 parents and a child. And that's like really kind of traditional. Like there could be 2 adults who decide to include an animal in their home or a pet. Also, no one has to have like another living creature with them. They also don't have to pair up with somebody forever and ever. So I think that's interesting. The Holy Trinity in Christianity, which includes the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hinduism is said to sort of have a Holy Trinity of sorts. Islam has the 3 main holy sites, Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem, and the different places in there. There are even some pagan religions that see a sort of trinity of land, sea, and air that make up the planet Earth. The number 9 is said to be extremely lucky because 3 times 3, or 3 cubed, makes 9. So, wait, no, not 3 cubed. Oh my God, just 3 times 3. Wait, yeah. Gosh, numbers are not my thing. Okay. There's also that saying they are dressed to the nines, which means that the person is really dressed up and they're looking fine and fresh. There's that saying you're on cloud 9, meaning that the person is feeling really, really good. They're having a great day or time and they are just floating on air. Like they feel so great. There's even like, as weird as it sounds, like this is thought of positively. There's the cat of 9 tails that is a whip that's used to punish disobedient sailors, and it's thought to be magical to reform the watermen that were acting incorrectly or disobediently. In Japan, it has a different connotation because the Japanese word for 9 sounds like the term for pain and suffering. The number 17 in Italy has similar superstitions to 13 in the US. The Roman numerals, this is really like interesting to me because I feel like this is a little bit of almost like a puzzle, like a little bit of like a leap here, but the Roman numerals XVII, if you rearrange them to VIXI, that translates to I'm now dead or my life is over. Hotels, hospitals, airports, and floors and buildings will skip the number 17. And in Italy, 13 is actually considered lucky. The number 4 can be seen as lucky and natural. So just like north, south, east, west, there's the 4 directions, summer, fall, winter, spring, the 4 seasons. In China, Vietnam, Korea, and Japan, 4 is considered bad luck or a bad omen because it sounds like the word death. In one of my previous day jobs before I worked full-time as a therapist, one of the people who worked in the finance department, I was more like in hiring. I wasn't HR, but I was like kind of in like the HR department. Doesn't really matter. But there was this lady, she was from China, and I remember her being really like laughing about how the number 13 was unlucky, and she's like, what, why? And at the time I didn't know, because honestly, like I just found out because I made it to the 13th episode and I was like, oh yeah, why is this a thing? So I remember telling her, I'm like, I don't know, there's just like a lot of superstition around the number 13 in here. And she's like, that's so weird because it's number 4 in my country. And I was like, why? And she's like, oh, because it sounds like death. And I was like, wow, that's really scary. I was like, well, that's pretty like cut and dry. Like that makes a lot of sense. So she's like, but here it doesn't. So that's good. And I'm like, yeah, that is good. So I thought that was interesting because that was one. This is out of all of these are all very surprising to me, including 13. But 4 was the one I knew about. So number 4 in China, Vietnam, Korea, and Japan are not used in prices, house numbers, phone numbers, and floor buildings. Oh, this is another number I definitely knew about. Okay, so the number 666. So this one has its own super long phobia that I didn't even bother to write down because I'm like, I'm not going to say this word. It's like a million syllables. But it's considered the number of the beast or the devil's number, specifically in the book of Revelations within the Bible, and it warns against a person bearing that number. However, in China specifically, it's considered lucky because the word for 6 means floating or smooth. And so when you have like flow, smooth flow, and it's 3 in a row, it can be very satisfying. Conversely, the number 777 is seen as like the best number ever. In gambling, it's often seen as prosperous. If you ever see any kind of like slot machine type advertisements, they will often have like the lucky number 7 or 3 sevens in a row lined up. It's also a prime number, so it's seen as indivisible, so it can't be taken down. It's also in many religious tomes. It's also seen in certain religions that it took God 7 days to create the world. There are also 7 planets. Actually, wait. My very eager mother just served us nachos. Oh, wait, no. I know there's a mnemonic for this. My very eager mother just served us nachos. That's only 8. Because Pluto's not included. Oh, wait. 7. Oh my gosh, I'm having a meltdown right now. I am getting so confused. Wait, there are 8 planets. What are they talking about? 7 planets? What the heck? What do they mean 7 planets? Other than Earth? My, Mars. Very, Venus. Eager, Earth. Mother. Wait, that one's Mars. The first one was Mercury. Whoops. Just, that's Jupiter. Served, Saturn. That's my favorite planet. I would love to know your favorite planet. Us, Uranus or Uranus, if you want to be a little bit devious. 9. Oh wait, 9 pizzas was the original mnemonic, which was Neptune and then Pluto, but now it's just Neptune. Now it's just nachos. Oh, that's 8. Wow, there are not 7 planets. Maybe they mean 7 planets like outside of Earth. There are the 7 seas, though. I do know that. There's the Arctic, North Atlantic, South Atlantic, North Pacific, South Pacific, Indian, and Southern Oceans. There are also 7 days of the week, and don't worry, I won't subject you to me naming off all the days of the week. And then it's also said, which this one is so funny to me because after like my very, very scary, high risk, really intense, difficult pregnancy, I have decided to not have any more children. I have decided to end with perfection with my one and only sunshine, mi brillo solar. And I think this last little tidbit about the special number 7 or 777 is funny because it said that the 7th son of a 7th son has magical abilities. And I'm like, wow, that would be a very difficult thing to test out. What an experiment. Then next up, we have the number 8. So 8s show up in my life a lot. I was born on January 18th, so 118. I was married on August 18th of 2018, so 8/18/18, which is fun. It's a palindrome. Who doesn't want a palindrome in their life? That's very satisfying for my brain. My baby was born 8 days after me, after she was born, because she was a preemie. She's totally fine now, but touch and go in the beginning, and it can be scary. She had to stay in the NICU, which stands for the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit in the US. That's what we call it. The nickname is the NICU, for 8 days. But I still consider that lucky, because 8 is such a it was just 8 days. That's how I view it. Of course, even though I wished she was able to come home sooner than that at the time. So there are lots of 8s and 18s in my life. So it's interesting because 8, I found out, is considered a positive number in both Eastern and Western cultures. Specifically in Chinese culture, it sounds like the word for prosperity. So I thought that was neat. And then it said that God created the world in 6 days, and then they rested on day 7. And so that means that apparently on the 8th day is supposed to open up for renewal and a better world. So I'm a little confused because I just was saying that there's 7 days of the week. And I wasn't going to name all the days of the week. I still won't. But does that mean that the 8th day is Monday? I feel like I'm in kindergarten all over again, where I'm just like, okay, I know colors. I know numbers. I think I know the days of the week. I swear. But does that mean that Mondays are the special 8th day? I'm just going to go with that because today is Monday. I'm so happy I got to talk to you about numbers and get confused in front of numbers. Thank you for bearing with me while I had a meltdown about planets. That means that Mondays, I guess, mean that it's an opportunity for renewal for a better world. So happy Monday to you. I hope your Monday goes okay, and I'm definitely excited for Halloween. Do you have any lucky numbers? I'd love to know what yours are. Or do you have any unlucky numbers? I told you mine seemed to be 8 or 18. But for a while, also in there, it was 222 all lined up together. I would see it on the clock all the time, 222, and I would also see it. It was also my old house. If you signed up for my email subscriber list, I just send out weekly newsletters that are little short newsletters to let you know when the episodes are going to drop and what they're about. But you can get a free bonus episode where I talk about my old house that I sold recently, and that house was haunted. But the number on that house was 222, and I really, really love it. I still do miss it, but I'm definitely having a bond with my new house now too. Now that it's been a year, because October was when we moved in last year. October is such a big month. I really, really love it. So I'd love to know what numbers show up in your life and what effect they have, or what significance you've attributed to them or they attribute to you. And I will talk to you next week. Thanks to all you spooky souls out there for listening to Creepycore and Folklore. Follow on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok if you're looking for more uncanny content. If you have your own tales to tell, you can email creepycoreandfolklore@gmail.com. If you liked this, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, or tell a friend who might enjoy these stories to spread the word. If you're interested in dark fantasy, check out my Hollowverse series. Ashes is available now in paperback and ebook on Amazon and audiobook on Audible, and the sequel is underway. I'm Iona Wayland, and I'll see you next time.